right now I am very happy to introduce Dr. Ben Hwang. He has been on the forefront of cutting-edge biological research from even a young age. When he started out as an undergraduate researcher in Leroy Hood's lab at Caltech. From there, he went and received his PhD in biology from Hopkins, and has now been making waves in all areas of biological research. First as a consultant at McKinsey, and later as the head of Asia Pacific, as head of the Asia Pacific region for life sciences technology, and now he is currently the chairman and CEO of Profusa, a biotech company in San Francisco, developing technology to stream biological data directly to a wearable smart device, effectively revolutionizing the field of health. I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Hwang to all of you.
Thanks, Emily. In the spirit of recruiting talent, I think I just found my press secretary, so I appreciate it. Thank you. It's great to be back at the Homewood campus. I was just commenting coming back here. I left in 2001, and Emily says, "Oh gosh, I don't think I've been alive that long," or something like that. Made me feel a little bad, but it's okay. It's great to be here. Let me tell you a little bit about my company right now, what we're doing, and hopefully that'll give you a bit of context on why I'm here. And then perhaps at that point I'll ask for your indulgence, because I'll share a few stories that I think still it's true that these are stories that only my mother would care about. But hopefully there will be little bits and pieces of nuggets on my career progression and how I became an entrepreneur and the successes and failures that we've had, and perhaps there's something that you could actually glean and take away from. So what do? Profusa is a medical device company. We're in a very regulated space, FDA, CE approval, because we actually put a little sensor inside somebody's body. But that sensor, what that sensor could do. The sensor is basically a little piece of hydrogel, and that allows you to, like wearing a Fitbit, but instead of counting steps, it's able to give you biochemistry information that currently can only be gotten by getting a vial of blood drawn. And the data acquisition is completely non-invasive. It's real time, so managing diabetes, managing COPD, chronic health, becomes possible, and really changes the way a physician and a patient could interact in a very time and distance agnostic way. We've solved a biological problem that has plagued the industry for about 50 years, so it's a really important scientific breakthrough, and able to leverage that in a space that we think will have a huge amount of impact throughout the world. We are venture-backed. We've raised so far about $40 million or so US dollars to date. We're 35 employees, probably another 10 consultants, and at any given moment through our collaborations and grants, probably another 20 or so people working on our behalf. So it's a pretty hefty organization. We received CE approval, so we're regulatory approved in Europe, and just launched our first product last year. So it's been a long journey, but I think we've gotten some success and some traction. Hopefully some of these experiences could be beneficial to you. Okay, so now with that background, I'm going to share with you literally stories that I think only my mom cares about. And hopefully you guys will get a kick out of it too. I was asked to talk about experiences and successes and failures that might be helpful to an entrepreneur. And it's really tough to tease that out, quite frankly. Everybody's gotten just incredible advice throughout the day, I think, on some of the mechanics and what's important and what's not important and how to do things. Some of those I agree with, some of those I don't, but regardless, I think most of our experiences are going to be very unique and very individualized, and our journey is going to be very unique and individualized. So what I'm trying to do over the next 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so, is just share some thoughts, how I got here, and how I found that journey to be helpful. I'm a very, very lucky guy. I really am. I think short of winning the Powerball or Mega Millions, I think I'm probably as lucky as anybody could actually be. I've got a great family. I have great children. And at a very young age, I had the experience of working for the Dodgers. at the age of 17, I joined the organization as a bat boy. And by the time I was 18 years old, I went into the front office. Because literally, there's only one Batman. Like, once you turn 18, there's only one Batman. You can't be a bat boy anymore. And Batman lives in Gotham City and not in LA, so I can't be a Batman anymore. And so I had to go into the front office, and I got in the front office as a publicity intern and kind of worked my way up and ran promotions after a while. My experience at Dodger Stadium was this. I'm really incredibly lucky to have gotten that role. People ask me, how did you get that job, right? How did that happen? And my stock answer is looks, charm, and personality, right? With this package, how can you not get that job? The actual answer is my dad knew somebody who knew somebody and got me in. My biggest fear at that time was at the age of 17, my life peaked. That was a genuine fear, because if you are a baseball fan, there's nothing better than playing catch in the outfield of Wrigley Field with Fernando Valenzuela, who was a big star at the time, with John Fogerty center field playing over the speakers. It's just a mind-blowing experience as a kid. And I didn't want that experience to end. And so when it was time for me to leave, there's not like a retirement age, nothing like that. It was just, I was 18, I was getting kind of silly, right? Some of the players are younger than me. I literally just raised my hand and went to the front office and asked, is there anything I could do for you in the front office as an uneducated, high school dropout, 18-year-old kid? You need trash cans that you need empty? I'm the man. Do you guys have toilets that you need scrubbed? Count me in. What can I do for you? Put your name in every single hat. For me, that worked great because it led to, sure, come on, we need people to actually make photocopies. By the way, photocopies, this thing is this big machine, and you put paper on, and then another sheet of paper comes out. In the olden days, the press box had these press releases that you would hand out by paper instead of email, and somebody needed to do that, to actually make photocopies. I was going through reams and reams of paper, and needed somebody to actually operate that instrument. Count me in, I'm there. And through the process of putting your name in every single hat, or putting my name in every single hat, I was fortunate that the other person on the other side of the conversation gave me a chance, and I was able to progress through the organization. I had a reasonably, kind of fun time and successful career in professional sports. How did that translate into entrepreneurship? There were some conversations earlier on, and it's actually served me well, even at Profusa. I talk to everybody about what I do. I literally talk to everybody about what I do. You're interested in help? Come talk to me later. I will share with you what I do. I need somebody to invest money in. Oh, but you're a little earlier stage investor rather than what I need. I don't care. I'm going to talk to you. Because you don't know who that person knows and the introductions that other individual actually can make. I talk to everybody. And my advice to you is if you're a young entrepreneur and you're a student, and let's say you want to create the next biggest app doing something, and has nothing to do with biochemical sensing in a regulated space, I would expect every one of you at the end of this, over dinner, or wherever, come up and ask me for a card, right? Talk to everybody about your idea. You never know how somebody's going to be able to help you. I let it slip in a public forum that I'm a high school dropout, which is true. One of the things is I wasn't that disciplined as a kid, and when you have a choice between going to school or going to Dodger Stadium, I went to Dodger Stadium, right? So I stopped going to high school as a junior. After leaving the Dodgers, I was 23 years old, and I thought, oh gosh, I got to go back to school. I mean, this is kind of silly, right? And so I took the GED and in the state of California, enrolled in Pasadena City College, a community college, wonderful school. It's the home of Jackie Robinson. That's where Jackie Robinson actually went to school before he went to UCLA on an athletic scholarship. And PCC, once again, my second lucky break, PCC was about 2 blocks away from Caltech. And during my summer there at PCC, I decided to get a job, and it was between getting a job at Eddie Bauer selling shirts or getting a job in the lab, because at that time I was pre-med, getting a job at a lab. And I decided to get a job at a lab, went to Caltech, knocked on every single door I possibly can, because remember, talk to everybody, right? And finally got directed to the office of the academic department in the Department of Biology, gave me a catalog, and my request was, I'll do anything. I'll scrub toilets, I'll wash test tubes. By the way, I don't have a fetish with toilets. It's like the second time, I just realized it's like the second time I raised, I'm talking about scrubbing toilets. Yeah. Anyways, so I knocked on doors, and this goes to show you how little I knew about science, biology, and how an academic institution worked. I was a PCC, right? Community college. I got the catalog home, and I thought to myself, Caltech was a pretty good school. I don't know anything. If I join a lab with 4 people, I increase the size of that lab by 25%, I'd stick out like a sore thumb. So I'm going to find the biggest lab I could possibly find, and they probably have a lot of research money. They could absorb me, and I could hide, and it wouldn't matter. So at that time, the lab was Lee Hood's lab at the Beckman Institute. He had probably 220 or so people in his lab at the time, just humongous, well-funded place. So I showed up in Lee's office and knocked on the door. And I'll make a long story short. They had this research fellowship, and I was encouraged to apply for that research fellowship. I got the application. I went back to the school, filled it out, and I walked back over and said, "Here's my application to the Hood Lab." And before I said anything, the application literally was blank, right? Because you imagine a fellowship application is where you went to school, what science classes have you taken, right? What's your research background, how many papers have you published, where have you given talks, et cetera. And I was at community college, I got nothing. So it was, NA. I had a general chemistry class, and I had a general biology class. And once again, it's the whole, I'll scrub toilet line, right? It's like, you don't have to pay me, but lo and behold, second lucky break, Lee Hood gave me one of the spots. Out of the 10. The other 9 were Harvard, Brown, MD, PhD candidates. I was the only community college kid. I gotta tell you, my first day that I showed up, and there was a debrief, or not a debrief, a welcome. And I didn't know what DNA was, 5 prime, 3 prime, what does that mean? Literally, I had no foundational knowledge. And I went home and I thought to myself, gosh, by the way, how much time do I have?
16, 17 minutes.
Oh, it's a 30-minute time block?
No.
20-minute time block? Okay. Good. I literally went back and I thought to myself, what am I doing? Right? Talk about sticking like a sore thumb. What am I doing? Little did I know, Lee Hood is one of the most famous scientists at the time in the field of biology and biochemistry. He invented this automated DNA sequencer. As a matter of fact, when I was there, I saw the poster that was up there, capillary electrophoresis sequencing. And I determined that, anything worthwhile doing is worthwhile doing. Go do it. And instead of being intimidated by the brain power around me, and instead of being intimidated by absolutely just the top-notch academic pedigree that's around, let's see if we get inspired instead. Don't be intimidated by what you're about to embark on. Try to be inspired. Because I'll tell you, anything worth doing probably has an element of intimidation to it. When you think about it, right? If you want an ability to impact 500 million people for whatever endeavor that you're about to embark on doing, that thought is quite intimidating. By the way, if it doesn't intimidate you, come talk to me later, because it should scare the bejesus out of you. And yet, be inspired by that mission rather than being intimidated by that mission. And as soon as I actually had that change in my mindset that, wow, while this is intimidating, it's true, gosh, imagine what these guys are doing, right? Building a capillary electrophoresis instrument that actually takes DNA sequence from 150 bases, if you're lucky, over 3 to 4 days, to being able to do that in an hour. That's really kind of rock star stuff, and that's awesome. Let's be a part of this. Don't be afraid to be a part of something that's actually much bigger than you. And then, so I went there, did my thing in the summer. Lee was kind, and at the end of the summer, he asked, so Ben, what are you going to do next? And I said, well, I'm going to go to school, right? So I'm transferring from PCC, and I'm going to transfer to University of Southern California, the Trojans. And Lee was thoughtful. He was nice, and he said, well, that's a great school. It's a fine school. Why are you going there? And I said, well, they gave me a scholarship, right? My family was poor. I couldn't afford to write a check. They gave me a bit of a scholarship to go. Says, well, you might be able to, if you have a chance to go somewhere else, would you? Because I think you might try a place like Hopkins. So for those of you who don't know, Lee actually got his MD. He's an MD PhD, got his PhD at Caltech, and he's got an MD at medical school here at Johns Hopkins. And so, anyways, he made a call, third lucky moment, right? Third call, I came on campus, went to Mud Hall, interview with Doug Fambro, who was a professor at the time, and then, got a nice letter in the mail saying, hey, congratulations, you're accepted. I still went to SC for a while because it's timing, right? So I transferred in the winter, but I still showed up at SC in the fall. Did reasonably well at SC, and I came here. Now, for those of you who are undergraduates here, I don't know what it is like now, but when I was going to school here, and I can't believe I just turned into that guy who went back to his old school to say when I was going to school there, when I was going to school here, lot of pre-meds. There was a word called throatism. There are throats, right? Like people who are really, really grubby for grades and wanted to get into medical school. And I was intimidated. The only academic experience that I had at the time was at PCC and was at USC. And USC was like the funnest 2.5 months I've ever had in my life. It was great. But I was really scared. I was scared. I didn't know. I never took a biochemistry class. Organic chemistry at Hopkins scared the crap out of me. So for the first time I showed up, every night I was studying. I would show up at the lab to do a little work, and I'd go back and I'd study. I had no fun whatsoever. First test came by. I showed up, did the thing. And then I realized, gosh, I could hang. And then, of course, I stopped studying. After I found that out, I started working in the lab and started having fun. Listen, why is this important? If you are here, you are motivated to do something great. If you are here, you are smart enough and accomplished enough to actually do something great. Do not let the successes of others dictate to you an established benchmark of what you could actually accomplish. It's hogwash, right? If you have a chance to pitch in front of Kleiner Perkins, and you have a chance to actually pitch in front of Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, don't be intimidated by it. You could hang. You could absolutely hang. Be prepared, be energetic, be willing to put in the work, but don't let the reputation, the stories, the myth, and the press headlines define for you what you should do or what you shouldn't do, right? Put in the work and you could hang. Lucky moment number 4, McKinsey and Company. Can I rewind this? There's a stop clock here, or a stopwatch here. I was just saying, give more time. McKinsey and Company came to Hopkins and recruited for 1 year only. And I was fortunate enough to actually show up. It was a career-defining moment for me when I actually got the offer. So here it is, right? McKinsey, one of the more prestigious companies to work for. I went through the interview process, got turned down, called them back and said, you guys are making a mistake. You shouldn't turn me down because I'm actually pretty good. They reconsidered, went through the interview process again, and they hired me. On my first study at McKinsey, I don't have an MBA, right? I'm a nerd. Right? I'm a PhD scientist. I don't have an MBA, so I don't know what Excel was. This was during the time when I was giving a scientific talk. You used to have to take pictures and then glue them on, and then take a slide and then project it. There's nothing like PowerPoint. And so you show up in a study, and the first thing that that they do is you got to do this analysis, and I had no idea how to do it. I kid you not, this sounds like a joke, but it isn't. They asked me to build a model, a financial model, a little simple financial model. I didn't realize that if you put equal sign in the cell, it'll do the calculations for you. Yeah, I know you're laughing, right? But it's true. It's pathetic. So guess what I did? Hopkins PhD, advising Mercedes-Benz, at the time Daimler Chrysler was called, on their portfolio company working on about a $2.5 billion problem with really high-powered global strategic consulting firm. I spent my entire time ordering pizza. I kid you not. I couldn't do anything else. I ordered pizza. The team stayed there until 1 o'clock in the morning. They're hungry. What do you guys want? I'm happy to order. You know what that taught me? And it's a lesson we talk about kind of roles and responsibilities and team here. Listen, ordering pizza is not beneath anybody, right? As an entrepreneur, as somebody who's leading a small team, what's important? It's your mission and your team, period, right? Can you accomplish what you set out to accomplish? And what's your hand in that? If you guys come up to me, ask me later on, I have this fancy business card that says chairman and CEO, that title means squat. I mean, it does. In the boardroom, it does in terms of my shares, it does in a legal sense. But in general, the more important metrics, how are you doing? What's the progression of your business? How are you actually accomplished what you set out to do? That means nothing. It's all about being able to empower your team to actually do it better. And whatever role that you could possibly play at that given moment, feel free to play it, even though you have a fancy title like founder or CEO. At McKinsey, in the office of Daimler Chrysler, New Jersey, and in Detroit, my role at the time was ordering pizza, and I did it happily. About 4 weeks ago, we had an audit. We had a surveillance audit for our ISO 13485 certification, which is a long way of saying some dude showed up at our office and said, I want to look at all your quality systems, and it's a 3-day process, kind of painful. We were getting ready for that. Our quality leader had to go into surgery, and so I and the team spent about 3 full days, about 3 16, 18-hour days, going through and literally just combing through documents to make sure all the signatures are there, the numbers, the files matched, et cetera, to get ready for the audit. It was not beneath anybody to do stuff like that, because that's the thing that you have to do. Don't let that stop you, right? Your mission and your team. And then lastly, Profusa. It's my current journey. It's my next journey. We're fortunate to have actually made some progress. Before Profusa, as Emily had mentioned, from McKinsey, I joined some large companies and I found some success, personal and professional success in large companies. I ran a $800 million business unit for Life Technologies. It was a big publicly traded tools company with brands like Invitrogen, Applied Biosystems, Ion Torrent, all in the biology space. $800 million revenue business, about 3,000 employees, pretty big business. And then you kind of, once that was over, we got bought by Danaher for about by Thermo Fisher for about $13 billion. The question to myself was, what next? And I would encourage all of you, young, old, anywhere in the middle, to actually ask yourself that, right? If you're here, what's next? And whether you have the courage to do something to change the world. Now, change the world is a big cliche. Listen, nobody should have an ambition here to say, I'm going to solve, create world peace, right? I mean, if you could do it, please do, because it's important and likely will be really lucrative. But it's not that. It's change the world in the way you define it, right? I choose to change the world in my way, to change how healthcare is actually delivered and create the opportunity to realize digital health and telemedicine in a way that's never been done before. What is the way you choose to change your world in whatever endeavor that you would like to do? And my encouragement there is this, right? You kind of have one shot at this. You have multiple shots on goal in terms of businesses. That's not what I mean. I mean, you have one shot at this as in terms of your professional career. And I have a beautiful wife. Well, at least I think she's beautiful. I have three awesome kids, 8, 7, and 2.5. There's nothing I like to do better than to spend time with them. So if I'm going to spend my time away from them, it better be damn well worth my time. So pick something that's going to be worth your time. Pick something that ultimately is going to help you decide how you're going to spend your productive years and give back to the community in a positive way. Because it's never too late, I think, to ask yourself the question, even at a very young age, what is going to be your legacy? Entrepreneurialism, starting company and starting venture, is a great way to define that and create something that's lasting, create something that impacts lives, create something that's going to outlive you and outlive your children. And having the opportunity to do that, I think is such a privilege that I would encourage all of you to not waste it. Did I go over?
I don't know.
Good. With that, thank you. I'm around.